Abduction, Chapter 7, Part 1. The gym that Valery worked at was indeed in the city center of Lutsk. The biggest challenge wasn't finding the sporting club, it was finding parking close to the establishment. Tatiana suggested I take a bus to the city center and save myself the aggravation of walking several blocks to get to the gym. The way she explained to me what buses to catch and where to get off made my head hurt. It had nothing to do with her accent, which I adored, but it had to do with me understanding the language if I got lost and asked for directions. Driving myself gave me a chance to learn the city streets and think about last night's escapade. I don't know what else to call the previous evening because sitting in a car in the dead of winter is not what ordinary people do. I also have to acknowledge that Echo and I are not your typical people when it comes to looking for UFOs. When I first heard it, I was truly fascinated. I wasn't sure what to make of Valery's story, having first-hand knowledge of flying saucers. Now that I have time to think upon his tale, I can't say that I'm all that convinced about his story of events. Even the sighting from the previous evening could be anything from the lights being a UFO to some cosmic gas in the atmosphere reflecting the moon's light. If I had discussed my thoughts with Echo, I would be immediately accused of denying what I experienced in the Belarusian forest. It was best to keep my opinions to myself regarding alien spaceships. I wasn't sure what to expect when I came to the front door of the sporting club. The windows were effectively blocked out at the lower floor, so I could not see what was happening inside the gym. I was confident, however, that the patrons could get a good view of the street while exercising. My worry was I didn't speak the language. Both Echo and Tatiana taught me a few words in Ukrainian, should Valery not be at the entrance when I arrived. I hoped that I wouldn't need them. The glare of the sun off the windows as I approached the gym entrance made me squint, so much that I bumped into a girl. She smiled and I tried to apologize, but she was too quick. The girl was walking down the sidewalk before I had a chance to say anything. I felt awkward and clumsy. "She is one of the regular clients here at the sporting club," said Valery as he appeared from out of the front door of the gym. "Come inside, you will see more pretty girls," he continued with a smile. I must have been staring at the girl longer than I thought, not to notice Valery come out of the building. Not that I was thinking about leaving Echo, she was my girl, and that was not going to change. I nodded to Valery and followed him inside the sporting club. "I'm not here for the girls," I said defensively. Valery shrugged. "Every man likes to see a pretty girl while in the sporting club. It is part of what makes him a man. Enjoy while you are here." I didn't know enough about Valery to know what his motives were. It could have been an honest jest or an assessment about men in general, or perhaps he was seeing what my reasons were for coming to the sporting club. No matter Valery's motives, I was in the gym to get a little exercise, but I had to admit that the added scenery was an added touch. The workout floor was nicely spaced out and left plenty of room to move from one exercise machine to another. There were separate rooms for exercise bike, a yoga area, and further back in the space, I could see a basketball courts with a running track that surrounded them. Each of these rooms was separated by a heavy glass. There were even plants scattered around the work floor for added aesthetic touch. Valery said something in Ukrainian Russian I couldn't tell to the girl in the checkout kiosk. She looked at me with her stunning dark eyes that held an alluring look. It was sexy. I can tell what she was thinking behind the face of a well-done makeup job to make her stunning features more natural. She could be thinking I was just another foreign looking to date a local girl for all I knew. "This is Natasha," said Valery. "Her English is fair, but good enough actually that if you should need something, you can ask her." Natasha beamed a smile at me as if the entire sequence was scripted. "Are you leaving me?" I asked. "Just for a moment," replied Valery. "I have a meeting with my boss." "Will the meeting take long?" Valery shrugged. "I do not know, but I promise it will not be gone too long. You are my guest. I don't want you to be alone without company. I would not be a good host if I left you by yourself. Go and enjoy yourself. I will return." I nodded in acknowledgement to Valery and wandered onto the floor. I looked around at the exercise machines and spotted the treadmills. Luckily, I came dressed for the occasion and wore track pants and a black AC/DC concert t-shirt. Not precisely stylish clothing, but it would serve its purpose without me standing out from the crowd. Not that the crowd was wall-to-wall people, but there were enough people considering it was a work day. As I approached the treadmill, I noticed the tiny cameras near the device. A quick look around, and more cameras became noticeable. This was normal, even in America. But I could not help wonder if anyone watched through the lens of the other side, or perhaps if they were just recording devices to be reviewed later if any mishap happened to take place. I shook myself and hopped onto the treadmill. I was paranoid for no reason, but I had a reason to be overly suspicious. I was a foreigner who had been warned not to speak of what I saw in the Belarusian Chernobyl exclusion zone. Had I stayed in the United States, I would have felt safer. I was not, however, back home. I chose to go back to Europe. I was under no illusion that I could possibly be on someone's watch list. I pushed the buttons on the treadmill to turn it on, and when I looked up, I could see the reflection of the rest of the room behind me. Natasha was watching me with a look of interest. It was probably nothing, but wanted to know if I knew how to operate the machine. The treadmill came to life with a familiar hum, and I took my first steps onto the moving belt. As I slowly increased the speed, where I was moving at a slow jog, I noticed an older man move next to my hostess, Natasha. The man was in his mid-50s, if I was to guess. Even in reflection of the glass, I could tell that he had a hard life, the cause of which I may never know the reason for, his rough facial appearance. Physically, he looked solid and well-built. He certainly was no stranger to physical work. The man was dressed in a dark pair of business pants and a patterned button-down shirt. His appearance reminded me of a stereotypical gangster from many American films.